request, what they are doing that they are sending the data, as well as they have to send an acknowledgement separately. Now, instead of sending the acknowledgement and data separately, what they are doing that they are binding it together and sending it as a single packet. Top of the packet, it will get the acknowledgement, means that I received the confirmation message that you have sent earlier, as well as I am sending the data. Now, whether this data is received by this client or not, how the server will know? Now, when the client will send the next request message, now at that same time, it will send the acknowledgement. Acknowledgement of what? Acknowledgement of the previous data that the server has sent. So we are making a piggybacking message where with the data, my acknowledgement message will also be bound in a single packet. So instead of sending two separate packet, one is for the acknowledgement, another is for the data, I am sending a one packet, one single packet where the data as well as acknowledgement both are present. Now, is the piggybacking concept is clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Clear, Girija? Girija, you asked me in the last class, right?
Yes, sir, clear.
Okay. Now, the separate message is same as the confirmable message, where I am sending confirmation as I am receiving the acknowledgement, and after that I will send the data. But it will be sent in case of the earlier messages. You can see that it is sending the confirmation and acknowledgement, like where the client will act as a server also, and where the server will also act as a client. Means both are sending data from both sides. But in case of separate message, only the client will receive the message and server will send the message. Means the client will send the request. Based on this, it will send the acknowledgement. Okay, I got the request, and after that, I will send the data only. So data will be sent only from one side. That is the difference between the confirmation message and separate message. Is this clear? So, confirmation message, non-confirmation message, piggyback, and separate message. If you have a doubt, you can ask me. Is this okay, students?
सर वो सेपरेट में क्या सब क्लाइंट ही सिर्फ डेटा भेजेगा?
Yeah, you can consider. Yes, this one is your IoT devices.
Okay, sir.
This one is only sending the data.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So yeah. So again, I am repeating the entire in a gist that in the code is basically conformable, non-conformable modes represent the reliable and unreliable transmission. Like this one is TCP and unreliable one is UDP transmission, respectively. While the other modes are used for request response. Means that your piggybacking and your separate message is basically a request response kind of message. Piggyback. Just a minute. Hello, students, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so XMPP is Extensible Messaging and Presence Protocol. It's a communication protocol for message-oriented middleware based, where XML is being used. XML is basically used to make as an universal file format so that your data can be acknowledged by all kinds of sender or receiver. So whether the sender is using PHP or HTML, whatever it may be, but if you send the XMPP protocol basically in the XML messaging format, so you can get the data easily. Okay, and it is a real-time exchange of the structured data, but it is a decentralized protocol. So what is decentralized protocol? I will come to that point later on. And it is an open standard protocol. Anybody can use that protocol. Even MQTT is also an open standard protocol. Anybody can use this protocol. And the best part of MQTT is that the entire code of MQTT protocol is available in the network, in the internet. So you can take the code and you can change the code. Even in 2018 batch, you might have heard about Majid and Smita. They have worked under me in an IoT project. They have changed the MQTT protocol and they make it as a modified MQTT protocol. And that one is being patented. So the best part is that any one of the protocol you can change it according to your requirement. Because we wanted to reduce the data exchanges a little bit more so that the battery drain of power of the battery can be reduced and it can be used in an efficient manner. So it's up to you. And these protocols are very light protocol, as already I've told. The very few lines of codes are there. 150 lines of codes or 200 lines of codes will be there. So it is not at all complex. So you can open it and you can change the protocol. Okay, so they use the client server architecture. As the model is decentralized, no central server is required. So MQTT is basically is a centralized protocol because whatever data is coming, they are coming through they are actually distributed through a broker, right? Now, if the broker got damaged or the broker got unresponsive, that case what will happen? The entire subscriber and publisher will remain ineffective, defunct, right? So they cannot do anything. Yes or no? If the broker get defunct, then what will happen? So everybody will get defunct. Can you understood my concept? Hello?
Sir, repeat it again.
What I wanted to say is that what is the difference between centralized and decentralized protocol? In case of central and the server or the client, that means those who need the data or and those who send the data. Here it may be server or client in case of your COAP protocol, or it may be publisher or subscriber in case of your MQTT protocol. So they will be connected through the centralized server and the centralized server will do everything. Now, in case of MQTT protocol, the broker is basically your server, right? So it is getting the data from the publisher and it is distributing the data to the subscriber. Now, if the broker get defunct, broker got damaged, broker got inactive, so in that case, what will happen? The entire subscriber publisher system will get breakdown. None of them will be able to send the data. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So that is one of the disadvantage of your centralized protocol. So instead of this, we can use the decentralized protocol like this XMPP. I will show you how XMPP is being used as a decentralized protocol. Okay, so the XMPPE provides XMPP. Sorry, I say wrong. I have written provides the discovery of service residing locally or across a network, the availability of written information of the service. Means what they do that they form different cluster of networks instead of the single network. They form a cluster of network. Each of the network collect the information. from the within this network there may be several IoT devices with there. So they will collect the information. This cluster of network will collect the information. This cluster of networks will collect the information, and after that they will accumulate the information like this. So this is the basic architecture of the XMPP protocol. It is well suited for cloud computing where virtual machine networks and firewalls would otherwise present obstacles to alternative service discovery and presence based solution. Means that for the if there are the multiple numbers of systems are present and it is being run through a cloud computing architecture devices, so that case this type of protocols are best suited. So I am showing you how it's actually works. Suppose in the internet, this is your internet or your cloud server. Now what do they do that there are multiple numbers of nodes are there. Now they will create a cluster of these nodes. They will create another cluster of these nodes. Now out of this cluster, one of them will act as the cluster head. Now how the cluster head is being selected, that I will tell you later on. This one is being selected as the cluster head for this network, and this one is being selected as the cluster head of this network. Suppose, okay. Now what they do that they will send their data, this node's data to this cluster head. This will send this node's data to this cluster head. This node will send this data. So everybody will send this data to the cluster head. Similarly, here also this node, this node, this node, this node. Sorry, this one is the cluster head. Nah? Sorry, I have made a mistake. So this node. So here, what will happen that this node will send to the data to the cluster head. This node will send data to the cluster head. This node will send data to the cluster head. So everybody will send the data to the cluster head. Now, what the cluster head will do? Cluster head will collect all those information, and after that, they will send the data to the cloud through XMPP protocol. So this is the basic architecture of the XMPP protocol. And here, that there may be instead of 2 cluster heads, there may be 50 cluster heads, and all the cluster heads will collect the data. And even this cluster head, this time this may be the cluster head, and in the next time, the instead of this node may become the cluster head, and here this node may become the cluster head. Why the cluster head is also get changes every time? Because if I become a cluster head, that case everybody will exchange the data to me, and I have to receive the data, and I also have to distribute the data to the cloud. Now that case my power will get dissipated, my power level will get reduced. Next time I have to change the cluster head so that there should be a power distribution balance between all the nodes. And it is not a centralized because there is no centralized server. Here, this one is acting as a distributed server which is collecting the data for the time being. Here, this one is acting as the centralized server, distributed server collecting data for the time being. The next time, the server, the cluster head may become changed. इससे क्या हो जाता है सपोज आफ्टर a few minutes if I find out that this node is working at all because इसका power distribution एकदम खत्म हो गया and its power level has reduced below 30%. That case what will happen, this will remain inactive. Now whatever data you are sending it cannot receive, so whenever they will get the information immediately they will select somebody else as the cluster head, so that for one node I don't have to depend upon like whatever we are doing in case of MQTT protocol or in case of COAP protocol, constant application protocol. So if my head becomes inactive, that entire node also becomes inactive, they stop working. But here it is not possible at all. Now you got it, the XMPP protocol. Student, is this clear? Shall I explain it again?
Sir, repeat it again.
कितना तक समझ में आया वो बताओ पहले, या कुछ भी समझ में नहीं आया?
सर लास्ट वाला समझ में आया क्योंकि मेरा तो नेटवर्क इशू है, थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है सर। थोड़ा पहले वाला थोड़ा अच्छे से बता दीजिए।
ओके, पहले समझने की कोशिश करो व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस बिटवीन दिस कोएप कॉप प्रोटोकॉल, कांस्टेंट एप्लीकेशन प्रोटोकॉल, XMPP and MQTT. XMPP is basically client server architecture. This one is request response architecture. आप लोग ने देखा ना, रिक्वेस्ट भेज रहे हैं,
Yes,
इसके
yes.
बाद उसका एंड MQTT is basically publisher subscriber model. आप लोग लिख लीजिएगा, यहाँ पे दिखाई नहीं दे रहा है, publisher subscriber. Okay, that is one difference. These two are centralized protocol. This one is decentralized protocol. So tell me what is the difference between centralized protocol and decentralized protocol? Himjyoti, what is the difference between centralized and decentralized protocol? Ayush More, Vikramaditya, Arindam Sharma. किसी को पता है या नहीं? Just now I have told. नहीं पता है तो बोल दो.
No, sir.
Kaushik? No. Okay. So centralized protocol means that the client server architecture, okay, it is fine, but there will be only one server. Okay. So if the server gets down, then the entire network will also gets down. Like in case of your MQTT protocol, what happens? MQTT protocol आप लोगों को याद है? There is one broker. There is one publisher, or maybe multiple publisher. Now, why one publisher? There may be multiple publisher. And multiple subscriber. Now, publisher is sending the message to the broker, and based on their the topic that is chosen by the subscriber, so it is being sent by the broker. Now, sent by the broker to the different subscriber. Now, here it is acting as the server. Now, if this broker gets down by any means, then what will happen? Entire network sending and receiving, entire process will get disturbed. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So that is called centralized system.
अच्छा अच्छा
It's not centralized system. Now going back to distributed system. Now if I go to distributed systems, what is being used in case of XMPP protocol? So there are multiple numbers of nodes are there. And everybody is trying to connect with the cloud. This is my cloud or internet. Because I need to get the data through the internet only, right? Now what they will do that instead of sending directly to the internet, they will form some cluster. Suppose this is one cluster, This is another cluster. This is another cluster. Now, out of this cluster, they will select one cluster head. Suppose in this case, this one is being selected as the cluster head, and this cluster head is temporary. For the time being, it will remain cluster head. Here, it will remain as the cluster head. Here, it will remain as the cluster head. Okay. Now, when it becomes selected as the cluster head, whatever data is being sent, it will be sent via the cluster head. So they will send the data to the cluster head. This one is the cluster head. Here, this one will be my cluster head. They are also sending the data to the cluster. Here, this one is sending the data to the cluster. Okay. Now, after the receiving the data by the cluster head, what it will do that it will send the data to the cloud. Only the cluster head will be connected with the cloud. Now, if the cloud, and this is the decentralized model, means instead of a central server who is collecting the data on behalf of all the IoT nodes, there may be multiple numbers of IoT nodes which will act as the cluster head, and they will be distributed. They will reside in a distributed manner, and they will collect the information in a distributed manner, and after that they will send the data to the cloud. Right. Now, why they are doing it so? Because of two reasons. One is that if all the nodes tries to send the data to the cloud directly, that is huge amount of data will get dissipated, and all the nodes will get die down within a minute. Instead of this, if they send it to the cluster head, which is geographically located to nearer to them, so their node power dissipation will be minimal. Only thing is that the cluster head power dissipation will be high, because cluster head is getting the data from everybody and it is distributing the data. It is sending the data to the cloud server. So cluster head power level will get dissipated. Now, with the cluster head power level after dissipating, if it goes below 30%, immediately they will change the cluster head. Next time the cluster head may become this one. So gradually they will change the cluster head so that there should be an equivalent balance of the power between all the nodes. Correct? Now, why they are doing this? So there is another advantage. Suppose by any means this cluster head gets died out, because IoT nodes network may get died down, or network may get disrupted, or the power level may get died down, because power level is the biggest issue in the IoT nodes if they are placed in a remote location. So if these nodes get died down, immediately they can select another one as a cluster head, which is not possible in case of your publisher and broker model. If the broker dies down, so they cannot select a new broker. They have to change the entire network architecture again. हाँ बोलो सौरभ, तुम कुछ बोल रहे थे।
सर मतलब हम लोग को मतलब XMPP जो प्रोटोकॉल है XMPP, तो इसमें एडवांटेज अच्छा है मतलब।
एडवांटेज अच्छा है पर इसका डिसएडवांटेज भी है। वन थिंग इज दैट they are structured, they are used for the structured network, means that सबका सारा डेटा ही चाहिए मुझे, because all the IoT nodes are sending all the data. But do you need all the data? But in case of MQTT protocol, I can select that if I want only the temperature data, they will send me the temperature data only. If I need the pressure data, they will send me the pressure data only. So that disadvantage is there in case of MQTT protocol. And MQTT में और एक चीज होता है, तुम्हारा जो bandwidth खर्चा बहुत कम होता है, and it's a light protocol. So it depends upon what kind of applications you are using. Based on this, you have to select which protocol you should go for.
Okay.
Suppose smart home application where different types of data we are collecting: temperature, pressure, gas sensor data. So that case, if I can select in a customized manner which data I require right now most. But if the number of nodes are huge, suppose the number of nodes are 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, so that case XMPP protocol is best. and I need only one type of data, that is the temperature data or pressure data only. In that case, XMPP protocol
Truly,
is
sir.
good.
Yes.
So it depends upon your application totally. You will decide what kind of protocol will be suitable for you.
Okay.
Is this clear, students? Any question? Any question? हाँ बोलो.
हेलो सर, मैं सर वो क्लस्टर हेड जब आप चेंज कर रहे थे ना सर,
हाँ
हाँ सर, उसका जब मतलब एक पावर डिसिपेशन सर एक लिमिट रहेगा ना सर, जैसे 30% आपने
हाँ,
बोला
हाँ।
जब, हाँ सर, तब वो जो डाटा ट्रांसमिशन होगा उसका सर डिले कम जाएगा या फिर मतलब और थोड़ा सा टाइम और रुकना पड़ेगा सर?
नहीं, वो इमीडिएट हो जाएगा. Suppose this cluster head power dissipation level becomes less than 30%. Immediately they will start exchanging data to select another cluster head. Means आप लोगों ने K-means algorithm का नाम सुना या नियरेस्ट नेबरहुड जो
हाँ
आप लोग
सर,
डेटा
हाँ सर,
या मशीन
Yes,
लर्निंग
sir.
लेके काम कर रहे हैं. So in case of K-means algorithm, what happens? So they select the K value. Based on the K value, they select any one of them as the cluster head. K-means our nearest neighborhood is basically cluster head selection algorithm only. Nearest neighborhood means जितना सारा नोड्स है उसमें से ऐसा एक नोड को मुझे सिलेक्ट करना है जिससे बाकी सबका डिस्टेंस सबसे कम होगा. Based on this, they select the new cluster head. So they basically use nearest neighborhood or K-means algorithm immediately to select the new cluster head and फिर data exchange start कर देता है. Am I able to clarify your
Yes, sir.
query?
ये सर, सर और एक डाउट था, जो एल्गोरिदम यूज करेगा सर सोर्स से डेस्टिनेशन तक, सर वो डिस्कार्ड एल्गोरिदम जो है सर सोर्स से डेस्टिनेशन तक मिनिमम पाथ जो निकालता है सर, वो यूज करेगा या फिर सर कोई डिफरेंट वाला एल्गोरिदम यूज करेगा सर उसके अकॉर्डिंग मतलब?
No, first thing they will check that whether कौन सा algorithm में मेरा power dissipation सबसे कम होगा. Power dissipation, how to find out the power dissipation? Because it is not possible to check all the power levels of all the nodes. What they will do that, they check that in which algorithm the data exchange is minimal. अगर data exchange कम होगा तो power distribution भी कम होगा.
Yes,
Yes
sir.
or no? So they check that in which algorithm the power dissipation is minimal. They will select that algorithm only.
Okay, sir.
Very good question. Any other question? So if there is no question, that is I want to end the session over here. I start a new topic in the next class.
हेलो सर.
हाँ बोलो.
सर मैं अभिषेक बोल रहा हूँ सर. सर
हाँ
वो
बोलो.
आज थोड़ा लेट से ज्वाइन किया हूँ मैं सर, तो अटेंडेंस मिस हो गया सर. अटेंडेंस तो दे दिया सर.
कैसे क्यों लेट से ज्वाइन किया?
सर मेरा
सर
भी
मैं थी